With some questions to start off with. What should I do first? Ooh, I'm guessing most of you have freelanced, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Would you have any, I guess, little mini pointers about how to start up your own freelancing business? If anyone wants to go first.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Cooked under a bag. I think with freelancing it's kind of really important to definitely put out the work that you would like to get back. So I guess when you're leaving university, make sure that the work you're putting out, like let's say you want to do a lot of cafe identities, make sure that you're putting that sort of work into your portfolio, because I guess people tend to trust you in that. Like for me, I like doing a lot of like restaurants and stuff like that. So when I was at university, I made sure I focused on that and made that my end goal. And then you'd be surprised, like the work you put out is actually generally what you do get back. So yeah, that's one tip.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I guess from a like a signage and mural type of perspective, a lot of it's just hard work going and chatting to venue owners and people like that. Not many people are going to approach you when you don't have a body of work, so it's about sort of building that body of work, and you know, if you have to, you'll take on some smaller budgets, but it's all about building that personal brand and putting out work that you want to be chased for, essentially. So yeah, that'd be mine.
Yeah, probably just like to extend on what the guys have just said, putting out work that you want to actually end up doing. Probably don't like wait for a brief, and that's something that I'm doing at the moment. Yeah, I think it's really important if you don't have the briefs that come to you to make that happen yourself, and that's probably something that I'm trying to put in place at the moment. And the other thing is networking. A lot of networking. A lot. That's probably like one of the hardest things about graphic design that I found, like having to talk about yourself, having to sell yourself, having to sell your ideas. But yeah, it's really, really important. And I found that being part of the AGDA Council has opened up, I don't know, like not doors, but you know, like connections with people and knowing what's going on in the industry, I guess, and knowing other people, and having that connection, which is something I think is really, really important.
I actually fell into freelancing by accident because I kind of just quit my job that I had at the time and didn't really have a backup plan. So I just kind of started freelancing, and what that really taught me was that as long as you can design, as long as you have a skill, like you have a job. So I would say that, you know, when you come out of university and you come out of any type of school, even if you come out of a job, sometimes you won't have an opportunity waiting for you, but that's enough to just make an opportunity for yourself. So if you're thinking about freelancing, or you're stuck in a position where you actually don't have anything to do, just start, basically, and then the rest will follow.
I think you all pretty much covered it. Myself, I just share all the freelance work I do across Facebook, Instagram, and it gets a lot of traction that way, just friends of friends, you know, friends will start referring you off Facebook and things if they've seen your work. So I'm all for just putting it all out there and seeing where it takes you, really.
So all the way down here now. So you kind of mentioned networking. So how would you go about in terms of networking? I know this is a hard question for you.
Most socially awkward person. How would I go about networking?
Okay, if you're a socially awkward person, what are your top tips for that?
I just said, if I'm a socially awkward person, what are my top tips for networking? I don't know. Alcohol? Like I said, like being part of the AGDA Council and being involved, and you know, you kind of just can't. It's hard to create work in a bubble. Like no one's going to come and find you, I guess. A lot of the freelance work that personally, like I've got, is from, you know, knowing someone that's already in the industry, or knowing a freelancer, or knowing someone that can vouch for me and say, you know, she's not shit, get her in, which is a lot of pressure. Thanks, Haley. But yeah, no, that's generally the way to go. Like, showing up to events like this is a really, really, important step. Getting your face out there, getting to know people. The thing with the Perth design community, I guess, it's a really, really small community, and people tend to know other people and tend to know other people's work and can recognise it, and you get to know who's who and who did what, and it's a really it's quite a close community, which is we're really, really lucky. So take that away.
Sorry, Sam. Does anyone else have any tips about networking, about how you go about it?
I have a few. These are just some things that have worked for me in the past. I am also pretty socially awkward when it comes to one-on-one interactions with people, so I just try and avoid it. But there are two things I think that have really helped me. One is, like, if you go to an event and you're by yourself, look for the other person who's by themselves. There's generally someone else there who is just hanging out, wanting someone to talk to. So you just go straight up to that person and say, hey, and start a conversation from there. The other thing that's really helped me in the past is that is like when you talk to someone, don't go in and just talk about yourself. Just go in and just ask them as many questions as you can about them, and just keep going. See how long you can go without talking about yourself or saying anything about yourself, and you'll see that the conversation sort of really flows because the pressure's not on you. And there's just one other thing. I guess if you're networking, something that I've learned in the past year is that if you're in a group, once you're all settled in and like a networking pro, when you're in a group, sort of stand in like a bit of a semicircle so you can invite other people in, so that people feel like they can come and approach you guys. If you're in like a circle and you're all sort of huddled over each other, it doesn't really invite other people into your conversation. So, yeah.
Shall I go with another question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Cool. Since all of you have done freelancing, how would you discover or realize your value as a creative? I feel like this might get a little personal to someone in the audience, but pretty much that. How would you go about discovering your own value as a creative and start justifying payment to your clients?
For me, it was finding out what other people would charge. Say sign writing, for example, knowing the sort of standard hourly rate for that industry, and then tacking on, extra skill sets that you have. Knowing your worth in an hourly rate term is kind of pretty hard sometimes. I think it's maybe better to go on a sort of cost by cost basis for projects. Gives you a bit better sort of self-value perspective, I guess. But yeah, for me, I'd say just find out what other people are charging, make a fair assessment on the quality of your work, and probably bump it up a little bit, and that leaves room for negotiation.
I guess generally what I try to do is actually, so for like branding and identity stuff, you try to charge like package rates. So you have like your basic entry stuff that can start anywhere from like $700 for a logo. If you're like first year out of uni, that's actually a pretty sweet deal. But then I'm like 5 years in now, so I'm generally starting to charge around 2.5. I hope it's okay to talk about prices. I feel like you should be pretty open with that stuff. But then in the agency day rate stuff, you can start charging an hourly rate because you're there for 8 hours. So you can charge a day rate of anywhere from $250 a day to $500, $600 a day. I've heard of people doing stuff for $900 a day. And that's, I guess it's just like seeing where you are on the scale of like junior designer, midweight designer, senior designer. And I think one other tip I'd have is when I'm leading the project, I generally charge more. So if like for Bar Pop, I'll lead all the ice cream factory branding and things like that. and then I'm generally charging a higher rate. But if I'm in-house at an agency, something like 2 from 2 or the brand, then you're charging a slightly lower rate because you're also actually getting some sort of mentorship out of it, and they're also leading the project above you. Yeah.
So it's a good thing that you mentioned pricing, because we've had at least like 32 people in the last week ask about pricing.
Yeah, happy to go into more detail about pricing.
Can you tell me?
Yes.
Let's talk about pricing, right?
Okay, well, I guess generally when I get approached for stuff, like I said, I'm about 4 years into industry now, and also this is like my main sole income, so generally like my smallest branding package will start at like $2,500, and you get a pretty full scale suite out of that. You get a few options too, but it can go anywhere from 2.5 to like 8,000. Because you have to realize the value of what you're doing for these guys. You're going to design them their branding and identity that's going to live potentially for 10, 20 years if it's really good. And the value of that to them over time is pretty important. So, yeah, I think that's what I'd generally say is like start charging in packages. Because charging an hourly rate for doing branding can get pretty exy for the client. That'd be my advice. I think starting in packages. Anyone else?
Just like growing on what you've just said there, I also work in packages, so I have a brochure that I send out to potential clients, and I have 3 different package options they can choose. Obviously each package includes different things. You do occasionally get the people that will message you or email you, and it's pretty obvious straight away if they're not going to value what you're actually doing. So you might have someone that sends you a Microsoft Word document with an awesome design that they've done, and they just want you to turn it into like an EPS and Illustrator file, and it's bad. So there are some people that just unfortunately cannot see your value, and you quote them and you instantly know that they're going, oh my god, that's way too much. And those are the people that there's a few that I've just let fall to the wayside if that happens. So I think to make people realize your value, it's about educating them on like the process that goes into creating logos and branding. It's not just something off Google, image search. So I think there's 2 ends to that really.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna lie, I've done like shit for free, like a lot, but it's only when I thought it could benefit me, like it's something that I could use for a portfolio, or it's a style or a direction that I kind of had control over. I don't think there's like taking those kinds of projects, like as long as like you find that it benefits you, I think that's something that you should really do. They don't often end up that way, but I think that's a really good experience to have. And not just freelancing, but I will say as well, like also being a junior somewhere, you're going to get paid like really shitty rates as a junior generally. Like you're probably on par with working at KFC. I'm not even kidding. But that exchange is that you get mentored. So I think it's really important that you have that exchange, that if you're not getting that you push for that. If you're not getting mentored, if you're not getting, information and things about process and how you can grow as a designer, I mean, that exchange is, off balance then. Like they're paying you a shitty wage because they're training you. So, I think it's really important as a junior that, they've hired you, you may be a junior, but, if you don't feel like you're getting that, kind of feedback or mentoring, it's really important to push for that. Yeah.
I just have 2 things to add on those answers. I'm really glad that you went into your rates, Ryan, because I think that's really important to be open and about your rates, and especially speaking to like women. Make sure you don't just ask other women your rates, ask the males in the industry also, because you can see there's a massive disparity between incomes and rates and the way that we all value our own work. So just make sure that you're talking to a wide range of people, not just people who are immediately within your sort of circle. And the second is on Sam, what you said about sort of low paying, like taking sort of smaller jobs at lower rates. I think there's a massive benefit in that for the same reasons. You get mentoring, you learn a lot. One thing that I often do if I do take a low sort of paying job that I know is below my actual rate, but I know I'm going to get something out of it, is I'll put my full rate on there. I'll actually, you know, in my quote or in my invoice, I will actually say what the project is actually worth, and then state, maybe in the form of a discount or in the email, I'll state, you know, what the lower rate is and why I'm doing it at the lower rate. I think it's really important to be really transparent about that. What that does is educate the client on, I guess, what design work actually costs. Just because you're doing it at a lower rate doesn't mean that that's what it actually costs in the real world. So just making sure that you manage your expectations for the future and also in the project that you're doing is really important.
Cool. Might just quickly just say, guys, if you can put your microphone closer, not too close to your mouth, that would be better. So hopefully they can hear. Another question then, or not?
Yeah. The other way. I think it's because that mic's too close.
I think so.
Might just sit a little bit further away.
How's that? A little better? Yeah. Oh, we're just dancing this one.
Well, Ash, I was thinking maybe if you were to open up to the floor, does anyone out there have any questions? Rachel, are you about to suss it out?
We've got one from Blake over there.
Hi. So my question is, when you guys were junior designers and you started doing work on your own, what would be the biggest tip you'd give to people that come straight out of school and just really don't? Because most people get jobs out, but like, sorry, let me rephrase that. That doesn't make sense. Okay. So coming out of uni or TAFE and stuff like that, what would be like the biggest like advice you could give out? Because a lot of us are coming out and trying to start while we're doing it, and it's not really like taking off as we like. We're kind of sort of figuring it out. So there's some guidelines on people.
Shall I repeat that?
Yeah.
Okay, coming out of TAFE or university, what's the biggest bit of advice that you'd give yourself? Was it?
Yeah.
Like, okay, back when you just came out of uni and TAFE.
Sure, turn your microphone off.
I don't mind going.
Yeah.
Okay, so is that good? Oh, okay. Personally, during my final year of study, what I did was try everything I could to get my foot in a door. So before I'd finished, I was out and about, approaching people, asking if I could come and intern 1 day a week for free, like anything I could just to get my foot in a door, because it was so competitive. Probably is the same today. And I managed to do that at an agency. So I worked 1 day a week there, studied full time, worked retail on weekends to pay the rent, and then luckily by the end of my final year they offered me a job full time. So that's how I went about it, and I wouldn't change that. Like, I think it was invaluable, the experience I got from it. I was learning that 1 day a week from the senior designers there, and then luckily got a full-time gig at the end of it. So that's how I went about it. I'll pass on now.
I would definitely say get involved with the community, like get very involved with the community. You'll often find that a lot of the jobs, before they even go up anywhere or advertise anywhere, they'll post them in community groups. So that's where you'll find the jobs fresh off the press. So get involved, and you'll also meet people who are also hiring. So if you're in their faces all the time, they're going to remember you when they need someone to employ.
I guess for my final year, what I really focused on, so I set aside some projects. I tried my best. I hope my lectures aren't here. I tried my best, like, at all of my project, not really, but there's some that you have to kind of like throw by the wayside, I guess. Like if you see like it won't benefit you, or it's not going to come to fruition like you had wanted it to. So what I did is really, really focused on some projects and really developed them as best that I could at the time. And I'm still showing, stuff that I did at TAFE a year and a half ago in my portfolio, and it's still work that I can stand behind. But really pushing. Not trying to please my lecturer. I mean, there's it's probably different with uni, but I was at TAFE, so everyone passes. But yeah, changing the names of products or festivals that they would just give you that is across the board, but they give you the option to change the name. Like I changed the name, and then I would go in for PADC skulls, and I would go in for competitions and stuff. So I would have more of a scope of work that is different from all of my peers, and I guess that's what I really tried to do. I wasn't sure about, I thought that it was really competitive against all graphic designers, so I really wanted to do something that would set myself apart. So that's what I set out to do. I think I did that. I'm not sure, but there's like a lot of portfolios you find amongst your peers. If you were in final year, that they'll all be the same. If you can show some initiative and show some drive or like creativity that you've pushed and that you've been really creative and, push that envelope, I think that, speaks volumes. So I got best in show or whatever, but it was, I don't know what it's called, but it was a way that I set myself apart from my peers, I guess, because there were a lot of graduates. Professionals don't have time to go around and look at every portfolio. But people made a point of going and looking at my portfolio, and I stupidly put it at the back. Don't ever put your portfolio at the back. No one will see it. People only went and saw my portfolio because I got, best student or student portfolio or fucking whatever it was. It's really important to me, but I can't think of the words right now. But so I mean, making that point of difference and having people, seek me out, I guess. The time is quite precious. So, that was like a really good thing. And that's probably, the best advice that I could give to graduating students. Do work that you want to be able to get into eventually, or be recognized, or style, or look at, all the design studios, advertising studios, like where you want to work, what kind of work they're doing, and try and not match that, but get on like a certain standard or like a certain level to where you can say, hey, I have this stuff, it would fit really easily into your, studio, fucking hire me.
Just to kind of reinforce what Sam was saying, I think try to do what you can to showcase your passion as well as your personality, because at the end of the day, design studios aren't only hiring designers, they're also hiring people. So for me, I kind of pulled like a bit of a stunt at the end of my grad show. I photoshopped a terrible picture of myself onto like a #1 draft pick thing. And as lame as it was, the idea really stood out at the grad show. And then when I got my first job out of university, my director, Henry, basically said, he was like, one of the reasons we hired you was because, you did something that kind of stood out from the rest of the crowd. So, and then even trying to showcase your passion in certain realms of design. So if you're really into typography, make sure that the typesetting in your resume, your folio is all really good and up to a great standard. I guess that would be my advice there. Anything else to say? We're covered pretty well. Yeah.
Well, we have a question from the back. Thanks, Rachel. Where is your message? Sorry? Yeah, say it, please.
Okay. Is it better to find your niche and really get in and get in deep with that, get really good at that, or is it better to spread your skills out and be a jack of all trades?
Did everyone hear that okay? Yeah? Cool, okay.
Probably not the back.
No, in the back. So the question was, is it better to find your niche or
be a jack of all trades. Does anyone want to go first with this one? Yeah, I think like just out of school, like I didn't really know what the industry was like or what the work in certain sectors was like. Not having had, an internship or I have a mortgage, I can't afford that. But yeah, it was really good to come out of school and kind of like try a whole range of shit. And kind of find like, what I want and what I want, from, that exchange, like from a company and where I want my work to go. And, so it's made it a bit clearer now, probably like a year out. I mean, there's nothing, terribly wrong with, going from place to place and seeing where you fit. And, that's probably the beauty of freelancing. Like you have that opportunity. You can work in a lot of different places, a lot of different people, a lot of different egos, and a lot of different projects, and try and see, like what you like and what you like doing, and, when you're going to, come home and you're crying and shit, and, try and avoid that. But yeah, no, it's, there's definitely nothing wrong with being a jack of all trades, I guess, like at the start. Like no one's going to be, specific about, what your true vocation is, I guess, like straight out of school. Like it does take some time. So that's probably like a really good thing about freelancing. Yeah.
Why don't I take the microphone? I don't even know what I'm going to say. No, right. So when I started in the industry, I was pretty much doing everything. So I started in graphic design. I did that, and then I went into front-end development. I do motion design. I do UI design. I do UX design. It's all just like a mess when you talk about it like that. But in the last 4 years, I've really focused on in the UI web sort of design, and I'm not going to tell you to focus on a niche or generalize because I think it's different for everyone. But for me personally, I found that going into that specialization really helped focus a lot of my work, and also you just get really good at doing the same thing over and over and over. Because if you can practice that 8 hours a day, then improvement will come and growth will come. So from my point of view, I found specialization to really help, but I don't think that it's necessarily the right way or the wrong way.
No, I agree. Just keep it broad at the start if you can. Like if you are talented in different areas, just do everything you can in every area that you're good at, and then maybe one day you'll hone in on your skills. I don't think I still have. Like, I'm still doing all sorts of stuff. I've now just started learning videography, so I'm constantly sort of learning new things as well. Maybe one day I'll hone in on something, but for now it's still a little bit of everything for me. So each to their own, I guess. Like, if you've got a particular skill set, absolutely just use it. Use it all you can at the start, at least.
Cool. Got the next question.